Well, connecting. There it is. Now we're live on YouTube.
Yeah,
Should
so
get your
all I wanted to
notifications.
say about it, based on, there was obviously a lot of the information broke today. And all I wanted to say was, look, we've got an adult that made a bad decision. He's got opportunities ahead of him. If he behaves accordingly, we will see him race a truck or a car again. And so we've had, multiple people that have dealt with this. Noah Gregson and A.J. Allmendinger come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, as long as he does what he's supposed to do, which is to get his health in order, then, he's gonna be back in NASCAR.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all that needs to be said.
It's almost a non-story, really, now that you think about it.
Is.
Well, because we've seen people, I think the biggest story was Dinger, because that was coming off the heels for a few years from the Casey, not Casey.
You're Jeremy Mayfield.
Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah.
I was going to say Casey.
Especially since they connected the two based on what the substance was.
Right. And so that was like, okay, how is Dinger? And then it was like, I walked in and said, I took an Adderall. Sorry, I'm done. And they're like, okay, are you addicted? No. Okay, you can drive now.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's Roger.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Roger. And we're
getting
kicked off.
Corey LaJoie's been getting a lot of really good press because of his performance in the car that he's driving. His dad had an issue. He was a spotter, and
that's right.
He smoked a joint. Okay,
Yep.
fine. What's next? How do we get to the next place where it's okay?
Yeah.
Because, these are adult things that happen. Maybe they're not great decisions, but they happen.
Yeah.
Why don't we allow people to make mistakes that don't, that don't potentially jeopardize? I mean, the whole reason why we have this drug testing in NASCAR to begin with is
Sarah.
Did she say something funny?
Yo, y'all from Austin Wayne Self's drug-infested hometown.
Oh, my God.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we have to laugh at that.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny, but we have to be careful with we don't want to delude.
Well, I'm admittedly very biased. I really like Austin quite a bit, and he drove for my truck team in 2017, and we really wanted him back on that team in 2018. I think Austin was kind of an easy target for everybody because his family owned a pretty good business down there in Texas. They had started their own team. They came in. They were spending a lot of money to be competitive out there in the Truck Series, and quite frankly, it was an adjustment period for him. He would tell you that he struggled quite a bit. So I think he was already kind of an easy target, and he bounced around. I think he performed pretty well with our little team that we had out there in 2017, and then in 2018. Went over to Nice Motorsports. Whatever, they were okay. I mean, they weren't great. They were all right, and they made some really cool changes this year. So I'm really bummed for him because I feel like he's in the best competitive situation that he's ever been in now with Eddie Traconis as the crew chief on that team. And I thought they had the potential for some really good finishes.
Yeah.
And just to kind of everybody get off Austin's back a little bit, and now it's kind of gone the opposite way. So that's a bummer because I really love Austin. He's a really good kid.
Yeah.
And so I just wish him nothing but the best. I hope it's not anything that he can't come back from and be fine from. And really, as tight-lipped as everything has been on this, I wouldn't assume it's anything different.
Yeah. I'm hoping and thinking it's just going to be a blowover deal. We're done. Everything's good.
I hate seeing all the negativity and stuff on Twitter, which of course there is a lot.
That's a shame.
It's
a shame that's happening.
It's annoying because he's such a good kid and nobody knows him. They're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall because it's kind of an easy target right now. So that's just annoying.
This is like root beer ish, and this is kind of Dr. Pepper ish.
Okay,
if you want either one.
Well, so what it made me think about, like, the reason why we went down this road where we're basically taking a USADA or a WADA approach to managing competitors from a drug testing perspective. It reminded me of what sort of triggered that, which was what Kevin Harvick had to say about Shane Mule. And it's been 12 years now since
a long time.
His issues, and he's come clean in a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different platforms and talked about what his problems were. And now, of course, you know, he went through a really horrific accident that has put him, you know, in the wheelchair perspective of the world. And I'm sure that has humbled him quite a bit. But the reality is we've gotten ourselves to such a good place with the way we managed this that we can stop problems before they become problems for our competitors. And that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm like, look, you know, I mean, an adult made an adult mistake. But when we call people adults, let's be real careful. Like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. Are you an adult? Did anybody go to college?
Boy,
I know all of us did.
Yeah.
I know
I made
you did,
some
Tommy.
non-adult.
We made some
Yeah.
real non-adult decisions at times in our lives.
I agree.
It didn't impact.
It's pretty easy to cast judgment there.
That's what I'm saying. Who are all
especially
these
in a
people
situation like this? So it'll all play out.
Yeah.
I expect Austin to be back in a truck sometime soon.
these-
I know he wants, and that's just going to, you know, it just sucks.
Who are these
I mean, the
people
whole
on
thing
Twitter
the whole
who
thing
are in
sucks.
these glass houses? You know, like,
Well,
geez,
that's
guys.
it
I mean,
too.
you
It's
can't you
like-
can't go after somebody that hard. Come on, man. If it's like that,
Like you've never
let's,
made
let's
a
start
bad,
the show.
Yeah, let's start it. Boom.
Yeah, let's
Let's
do
get her
do
going.
some show.
All right. So Tommy, Rusty's going to do some magic on the computer there. He's going to pull up, as you're aware, we're going to have Sydney. She's going to sing a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go through a Patreon read, and then we'll bring you on. So when we stay silent for 45 seconds or so, it's not because we've lost you. It's because the intro to the show warrants that.
And by the way,
Okay.
the last few guests have been able to hear the whole thing. So
Oh, cool.
Who knows? Yeah. Here, Tommy,
Here we go.
can you hear that right there? Can you hear me and the music and all that? I'm not starting it. Okay, he can hear it. So there you go.
Awesome.
Perfect. So maybe you'll hear it now.
I
Once
think
I hit
when we
record,
do Skype, I think they can hear.
yeah, I think
It's
so.
when they're
I
on
think
the
so.
phone
yeah,
that
the
they
phone
don't.
gets a little weird. All right, we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, you ready?
Do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Here goes nothing. We're recording now.
Talladega to Daytona, Bristol, Charlotte, it's an NASCAR.
Welcome, y'all. All right, this is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 189. It's Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
I had to take a week off, and I therefore am slightly rusty, but more excited than ever.
Well, I am full rusty, and I'm ready to roll. It's good to have you back in the studio after your little trip down there to the south side of the country there. down in
down there at
Miami.
the tip, the America's appendix. I was
Yeah.
at South Beach Tuesday through Thursday.
You know what? I'm not going to tell this joke. I'll tell you this joke later.
We'll tell it at the closing.
Yeah.
Like the after hours portion of the YouTube.
That's right. Y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PET and join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month to get that free koozie. Best part is every cent in 2019 we're donating to sponsored drivers once again. So join the PTM posse today and be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. Those are Laura Henshaw, Aaron Bearden, Robert Cavalier, Colby McClain, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brendan Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rico Porter, Jumpy Bob, Les Miller, Tommy Witt, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Younger Motorsports, Jason Rudd, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Gail Delaney, and Crystal Smoke. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. Sherwin, I did have to take a breath there. I'm a little out of breath today. I don't know what. I'm getting all excited about the podcast.
I just dropped an ice cube. I'm going to have to find it in a second.
There's another one out here. Do we need to cut you off at the beginning of the show?
I mean, we could tell a story where that was probably more appropriate.
Oh, that's funny. Just leave it. It's water. Oh, he's going after it. Well, while he's going after it,
I got it.
he got it. Nice work. Now you have to put it in your drink, right? Isn't that no, I'm not saying. No.
No, if you didn't have a cat, I would probably do it.
That's a good point. Well, you hear our guest in the background. He is moaning disapprovingly.
disapprovingly.
Of the ice going back in.
What are you guys doing?
Y'all know him very well. He needs no introduction to the PETM posse, but we're going to do it anyway. He's multi-time PETM PhD Xfinity driver for BJ McLeod Motorsports and Diamond Gusset. Welcome back to the show, Tommy Joe Martins. What's up, Tommy?
What is up, guys? Too long.
I know. Sherwin, what did you say the episode was?
It was 164.
164, which that's
time now.
Yeah, that's 25
as
episodes.
Chief
that's
marketing
like
officer, this is clearly my fault. I am the sole person to blame for this.
Yeah, usually I get the text about once every 6 weeks.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So it's been a crazy 6 weeks, 6 months, etc. So you know what? It's good to have Tommy on here now that we're kind of in the pace of this new season and everything going on. And so to get us started, to get the pace laps going, Tommy, what are you drinking tonight?
Green tea.
Green
sorry
tea.
Sorry to disappoint you guys. It is not going to be an alcoholic beverage right now.
You know
it
what?
is race week for Bristol, so I'm keeping it clean this week.
My man. You know what's funny
you.
is I saw because you have a clear cup that it's in, right?
It is.
It looks like a giant beer. It
is not. No, it's just.
That's funny.
Just green tea.
That's funny. I was thinking earlier. Tommy brought the thunder tonight.
Oh no, not tonight, boys.
It's all good, man. Sherwin, what do we got in the studio?
Oh, well, I just poured myself an Elijah Craig small batch.
Very nice.
But I got this really cool, like, root beery deal from
Birch beer.
you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm sure the Elijah Craig people will cuss me out for doing that. Cause
Just a splash.
You're probably supposed to drink it straight, but it's pretty close to straight. I overserved myself. And then, like, we got this cool beer, Spaceman.
My Beer of the Month club that my parents got me for Christmas arrived this month.
It's a very neat
Boulder
can.
Beer
So
Company.
Fourth wall for
Spaceman,
the YouTubers.
For the YouTubers. Yep. And we got a 6-pack of...
we got... Mango Kush.
We keep talking about it.
I think everybody will probably know what that means.
Right.
Sweetwater. What it smells like.
Sweetwater has always had their, funny
weed culture. Was their first beer.
Their weed culture references and ha 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 and look at us, we're out from the West Coast. They don't even try anymore. They're like, hey, this is a 420 strain Kush ale. Yeah. You're like, good Lord, okay, well, can I drink this? Like, is my employer going to be, having an issue or what? So,
no.
Well, so that all said, let's kick this thing off, Sherwin. Tommy, you've had, I would say, some success in the last few weeks. A couple top 20s, including the team best 19th this weekend. What's the vibe like right now, and how are you feeling?
We feel good. Feel a little redeemed after the start of the year. It was a really tough year. A really tough start to the season for the team. So, a lot of emotion went into that to finally kind of break through at California the way that we had to do it at Auto Club. And, what's weird, the last 2 races, these were not our fastest cars that we've had. It was probably our best shot at a great run was Phoenix. We were so good at ISM Raceway and got bit by some mechanical problems there. And go to Auto Club. It's a super high tire wear race. We were only going to wind up getting scuffs. We just wound up finding some speed in the car and moving around. I love a place like that where you get to move. I mean, that to me is a lot of fun. And then at Texas, that was another place that the last time I was in Texas with my crew chief, Kevin Revelito, it was probably the worst day of my life in racing. I
remember the Texas story. I remember that.
Yeah, so we wrecked 2 trucks in one day. Probably a $40,000 hit, realistically, financially. And going back there now, admittedly, I was a little bit nervous about it. Felt like I took it kind of easy at first. And same thing, we had some stuff go on early in the race where we had the window net fall down in the car on the second lap, but we got really lucky and had a caution come out on lap 3. So just extremely lucky. Really struggled with the handling on the car at the beginning of the race. Actually blocked the crap out of Christopher Bell at the end of the first stage just to try to stay 1 lap down. Like, I blocked him the first time, and I think it probably pissed him off. He wasn't leading the race, and we went down into turn 3, and I kind of threw the block on him again. And at that point, I think he was just like, just whatever, dude, go ahead. If it matters that much to you, which it really did, and that really changed our race. So it was a lot of that fuel strategy, a lot of stuff we threw at it. Just didn't have raw pace, but got it better, and actually ran our fastest laps basically right after our last pit stop. So we finally got the car working the way we wanted to, and came down to a final restart. I think there were like 7 cars on our lap there at the end of the race, and we were able to get the best of them and finish up there 19th. So probably better than we deserved, but I think it shows a lot of just fortitude with Kevin making calls on the box and just never giving up on it. Kind of doing whatever you got to do. Fuel strategy, wave arounds, blocking the leader, just
blocking the leader.
Just doing whatever we had to do to make it work. And it matters. And this is, I've said this to people, when you're on a team like ours, that top 20 thing, it matters. And it doesn't matter to of course, all those drivers that are up there in top tier equipment. But that top 20 thing, for a team like ours, for Johnny Davis, for Carl Long and them, when you finish in the top 20, that's like, I get congratulations texts and stuff from people when that happens. Like Kyle Petty tweeted at me last week out of the blue, after the California race.
That's
just said,
awesome.
wow, top 20, man,
cool.
you're doing great. It's like that stuff's not happening. Like 21st, nobody cares.
And
so
almost
it's a weird way of looking at it, but like that for us is kind of our benchmark for a really good day, is a top 20. And so that's how we look at it, is if we can run on speed in the top 20 or find a way to get to that top 20. Which, look, we caught some breaks over the weekend in Texas. There were some cautions, some cars got wrecked out. We were able to take advantage of that. Although I will say, I think part of that is, you know what, you got to take care of your stuff and this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's part of it. I look at where our raw speed was, and at the end of the race, we probably had top 25 raw speed. But we were able to get a top 20, so we kind of overshot, finished 19th. We kind of overshot probably what we should have done, and that's great. This stuff works out, guys. I've had runs where I was like, man, we're so great, and we finished 27th.
Yep.
Right.
And I've had runs like over the weekend where I went, man, we feel like we're missing something. And then when you finally get it right, and then all of a sudden you're 19th. And you go, man, where'd that come from? Like, we just laughed for like 5 minutes from when I got out of the car. We were just laughing, me and Kevin, on pit road. So it was fun. It's just fun to have a chance to be competitive and be up there and kind of mixing it up with those guys that I told you guys kind of at the beginning of the year, this is where I expected us to be. Mm-hmm. Was right around the low 20s. We wanted to be the flagship car for BJ McLeod. We wanted to be running up there in the top 20 and competing with those Johnny Davis cars. And on our best days, the Jeremy Clements type cars right up there in the mix for that. The 07 and the 08 car have started off great this year. I think that's a good benchmark for us as well. Ray Black and Greg Golding are doing a good job in those cars. So that's kind of who you're fighting. There's about like 7 or 8 of us. It's like David Starr, Garrett Smithley, me, Joey Gase, Chad Fincham, and the difference there is, okay, you beat them all. Cool. You're like 17th. Josh Williams, who's just been phenomenal. They were 14th at Texas. I mean, they've just been killing it over there. So that's it. That's how we look at it. It's our little race. We feel like after some struggles, we're able to finish pretty high up in our race there at the end of it, just by eliminating some mistakes and consistently working to get it better. So it was a good day. You guys asked me at the beginning of this. This is a really long-winded answer. It's like it feels like a little bit of redemption for the beginning of the year because everybody was really down, and we were able to get this thing turned around. And I'm happy for our sponsors. I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for everybody.
Well, to put an exclamation point on that too, all the stuff that you're talking about, whether it be getting the car right, taking care of your stuff, maybe a little luck here and there. I think I had read that you were 30th or something after stage 2 and 19th at the end. So, that's awesome. That's huge. So. Yeah,
it's a big deal. Just like I said, strategy helped with that, and that's on Kevin. I was on the radio telling him to just go for it. As far as like taking the wave around, gambling on fuel strategy, I was like, well, if we don't have the speed, who cares? Mm-hmm. Like, let's roll the dice on it. And started saving gas early and often. And we're able to take a wave around there at the end of the race which we were only able to do because of fuel strategy. Some other guys did it on speed. We were able to do it because of this fuel strategy, and then luckily we just got a really good restart. I was just really fortunate to kind of be right spot, right time. Some guys raced each other pretty hard. I was able to make a couple moves and probably picked us up 2 or 3 spots there at the end of the race, and that was the difference.
Well, one of the really cool things about this process that we're going through with this Hobbycast is to get to talk to people like you on multiple occasions to explain to us what it means to be where you're at in the running order, and what it means for your team, and what it means for you and your personal racing goals. I think one of the really cool things is to watch this stuff happen and realize that when you finish 19th, like, that is a big deal. That's worthy of discussion.
Yeah.
It's worthy. It gets, I mean, like, there were 2 articles written this week about us having back-to-back top 20s that we got tagged in. And, and I'm able to send that over to a sponsor and go, look, you're getting coverage that you weren't even expecting to get just from us running a little bit better. And, again, that's where you get the texts and stuff. I mean, I've had people, if I finished 23rd in that race, I get some texts. Mm-hmm. But I finished 19th in that race, and all of a sudden my phone's blowing. I got 75 messages from people saying, oh, wow, great job today. Way to stick with it. Did, killer job. You had mentioned on stuff, stories, and all this stuff. So it's a big deal. And that's why when you watch that battle for that, like when 20th or 15th or whatever it is like on the line, like one of those kind of like transition positions type of thing is on the line, you race hard for it. And like I can tell you this, you guys will think this is kind of a funny story. I'll go ahead and say it on air, give you guys the inside scoop. So it came down to the very end of the race at Auto Club Speedway, and I was racing David Starr for 20th. Yeah. And David's car was, I don't know, there at the end of the race, they picked up some speed. They were better than us, just straight up. They were a little bit faster than us. And I just decided with about 10 or 12 laps to go, because we had a restart with like 15 to go. I was able to get away from him a little bit, but maybe 5 or 6 car lengths. I mean, he was still pretty close. And I just decided I'm just not giving up the top, period. We had been running up there all day, and I just said, you know what? If he's able to pass me on the bottom, congrats. Mm-hmm. But I am just not going to give up the top groove, period. And so I got up there, and he tried, and he tried, and he tried, and he couldn't get me. Well, now all of a sudden it's like 3 or 4 to go. And here come the leaders. Right? So it's Kyle Busch, it's Cole Custer. They're racing for the win, right? Kyle Busch is racing for his 200th win. All right. Kind of a thing. It's kind of a big deal. Yeah. All right. So Cole Custer comes, he catches me, kind of like center of the corner over there in 1 and 2. I was already on the top. He goes around me, whatever. So here comes Kyle. He's like 3 seconds back or 2 seconds back or whatever it is. They're not like racing side by side. I want to make that clear. Right? They're not racing side by side. But now Kyle's going to catch me. And so my spotter, he's telling me like, okay, leaders are coming. Here comes the 18. And in the heat of the moment, because I'm looking back there looking at David Starr, and he's not that far back. And I'm like, well, I don't want to give up the top. Like, I already know that. It's only like 3 laps to go now. And he says, okay, Kyle's going to catch you here. And I was like, all right. And I'm thinking like Kyle's going to catch me kind of on the way out of the corner, and I'm just going to pull over and let him go. Well, he winds up catching me like right at the exit of the corner, like which is just not a really good spot. And he has to kind of pull out to go around me. And I absolutely held him up for just did I cost him the race? No, he had a 2-second gap to the leader with like 2 laps to go. He's not catching him. But did I help? No, I did not help. And NASCAR did not like that very much. So I received a little bit of a talking to after that race.
Called the principal's office?
Yeah, which is fair, which is totally fair. All right? You don't need to be blocking one of the leaders with intentional or not intentional with just a few laps to go in the race, especially with something like that's on the line. And so that's fair. That's totally fair. Now, on the other side of things, we finished 20th in that race. And that was a big deal to us. And I don't feel like I affected the outcome of the race. And so I will just take the butt chewing. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to do it again. That's fine. But it's hard for me to sit here and say that I feel real bad about how it turned out, because that was a big deal for us. It was a big rebound for the team, and it really did change how everybody on the team acted after that, and headed into an off week where they got to prep for Texas. They get to turn around and go, wow, you know what? Yeah, we got a top 20. We're turning this thing around, because it had been a struggle there for a few weeks on the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple underlying themes there. One is your behavior on the racetrack is going to reflect upon your team, and they're going to watch what you're doing, and they're going to respect what you did, get excited about what you did, or not. And I would imagine that you probably came back to the pits with okay, boss, I'm sorry, slap me on the hand. NASCAR, I maybe
BJ
made a
let's
mistake.
Make it clear,
but
BJ did not care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sanction. It's one of those things where you're given an opportunity.
Kyle Busch, the spotter, probably cared. I don't even really think Kyle Busch cared that much.
Probably.
My mom said that on the broadcast that the spotter went, "Yeah, you caught that lap car in a bad spot," and Kyle went, "Yep," and it was that.
Pretty much.
I don't think Kyle was really that. Nobody was really that upset. I think it was just more of kind of like sending the message, which is totally fine. I totally get the message received. I got nothing but respect for Wayne Aughton, who's the series director in that thing. I mean, I love that guy. I think he's just fantastic. And it's his show, and he runs it. And he doesn't hold back from telling you how he felt at the moment. And I'm sure he was probably ticked that it looked like I was blocking the leaders with 2 or 3 laps to go, especially when Kyle was chasing 200, which was a really big deal. So, no, I did not want to be the focal point of that.
Right, right. I think it was
still pretty happy with 20th.
It was Ross Chastain at one point that told us. We said, "What's your goals for the race today?" He said, "To not be a headline."
Yeah, that's basically it. Don't ruin something. Yeah, and and again, let's make this clear, guys. If Kyle Busch was racing door to door with Cole Custer with 2 laps to go, I would have hucked it to the infield to get out of the way there.
Yeah.
All right. But Cole was 2.5 seconds clear with 2 to go. And I was about 5 car lengths clear of the guy I was racing. And so I was going to protect the top, and hopefully Kyle was going to catch me in a spot where I could just kind of let him have it and keep going. That was my thought process, and he just caught me a little faster than I expected. What do you know? He is Kyle Busch. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he doesn't suck.
He's not bad.
So I
200
just underestimated that just a little bit. That's it.
So let's move on. We'll go to the report card here, and y'all, we're doing a little different this week. If you're a $5 and up per month member, you get the show notes, and you might have gone, Rusty didn't write quite as much as he normally does. I mean, there's notes.
There's some.
But, I mean, I was like, this is the first time we have a competitor on the show in a while, and several things have come down that, some...
that we might want the perspective
on the low side, some I think on the high side, and definitely want to get that perspective. And the first one is just qualifying. I mean... what in the world have we gotten ourselves into at this point? And it's been, what's weird is I'd say it's been working, quote unquote.
What the bleep are we doing?
It's been working for a little while, but suddenly it seems like in the last, this year, that suddenly weird situations have happened.
Clogging the middle?
Yeah, blocking the middle, all this weird stuff going on where it's like, well, it worked okay. I'm not saying it was great. I talked about it last week with David. Like, I'm not going to qualifying to go watch if I can sit in my campsite and drink beer right now. It's just not.
Well, especially when we can reach the scanner, we can listen to it because it's close enough.
And so, but we were talking about how we used to go. Me and you used to go to qualifying when it was single car.
Well, when the trucks raced on Friday nights at Atlanta, we used to go to qualifying.
Yeah, it was great.
I remember watching Kyle Busch bust his ass in turn 3, and the entire crowd cheered.
Yeah. So it's it's been very interesting this year with all the craziness and stuff. I saw what's his butt, the president last week. We talked about it a little bit, but he
Steve
said
Phelps or Steve O'Donnell.
No, Steve Phelps. Steve Phelps.
O'Donnell, he was on Dale Jr.'s podcast this week. It's really good.
I need to go back.
Yeah, really good.
I haven't listened to it yet. But I think he was the one that was saying that the single car qualifying is he said boring and expensive. Now, I think boring is subjective. I think expensive is objective, but I don't know who it's expensive for, because if you are qualifying all these cars together,
They're still changing the setups in the cars.
right. If you're wrecking 3 cars, that's 300 plus 500 grand.
Well, I don't know
right
that they're
there.
wrecking
So,
them as much as
you're not wrecking a ton. I'm just
you're
saying that
you're still changing the setup though.
Mm-hmm.
They're not racing because they're not impound. Most
Right.
of the races are not impound races, so they're changing setups.
So I think we've heard all across the board from the opinion heads. I want to hear it from the competitor,
From
here.
a racer.
Yeah. Qualifying. Talk to us, Tommy.
I mean, I love single car qualifying.
My man.
I just love it. I've always loved it, and it's a love-hate thing. It was something that you just learned to do, and I like the pressure of it now as I've gotten older. I think it puts you on equal ground more so than anything else, and I think it's different. It's different. It's supposed to be a little different. Like, that's qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different, and as far as the cost standpoint, like, I don't want to speak where maybe I don't know what the heck's going on in Cup. I don't know what the heck is different in Xfinity qualifying or truck qualifying from what we normally do. We do impound stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we would really be able to do anything different to spend any money. I mean, like a cool down machine, we already have that for the round based qualifying.
Right.
Now you actually wouldn't need a cool down machine.
That's the most expensive piece.
You would just do one round.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. I guess I'm not understanding the thought there. I get why it's structured the way that it is now with group qualifying, because it's a TV show. This is a TV show. They're able to fill in those blocks of time where they go, okay, first round is X amount of minutes and second round is this amount of minutes. And they're able to go to commercials, and it's an hour-long TV show essentially, and they can wrap it all up. So that's why it's done that way. That was the whole idea for the networks, and that's fine. The networks spend a ton of money on NASCAR, so they get to have some say in the way they want it done. I get it. I'm also but I don't also care. Like, I'm in the car. Like, I just want it to be fair for everybody.
Yep.
And I think the most fair way is a single car qualifying deal with 2 laps, because then you literally just have those 2 laps.
Yeah.
So let me just take you down a scenario here in qualifying. Let's say I go out like I did at Texas, and in the first round of qualifying at Texas, I was like 17th in qualifying. All right. And now everybody's gone out and done a lap. It was like 3 or 4 minutes left to go in the round. Everybody's done a lap now, and we're like 17th. Well, what do all those other cars do up in front of me? They all come in, hook up the cool down unit, go back out, make another run, because the tires were a little bit better on lap 4 or 5, and they're able to pick up a little bit of time, shuffle us back to 24th. Now, was that the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. But if we were all just running one run, I qualify 17th.
Yep.
And you could sit there and say, well, you could have gone out and run another run. Yeah, I could have. But why do I have to? It just kind of seems weird. We could all start with the exact same amount of laps on our tires. Everybody would start with the same. As opposed to the guys that make the final round might have 10 or 12 laps on their tire, to which, you could turn around and say, well, that's an advantage for the people that don't make the final round. I don't know. It just seems odd. Why not just run them one lap? And it's a different thing, and the spotlight is completely on you. And from a coverage standpoint, Ryan Ellis brought this up on Twitter, where he said that he was able to tell sponsors, hey, as long as we're just not really unlucky with a commercial break or something, you're basically getting guaranteed television time.
Yep.
This week, where we're going to be in qualifying, and they're going to show us. And also, qualifying was an opportunity while everybody was kind of getting in and out of the trucks or the cars, where you kind of walk up and down pit road. It's a little kind of casual atmosphere, just a different atmosphere. And you're interviewing this guy before he gets in the truck. Hey, what do you think's going to happen? Hey, what do you think's going to happen? Okay, cool. Or they're strapped. My favorite is when they're actually strapped in the car, and the reporter walks up and is like, talking to him while I'm like strapping into the car. That was the first interview I ever did on TV. Was with Ray Dunlap during a Truck Series race.
We love Ray.
Ray's great. Oh no, Adam Alexander interviewed me the week before, but actually Ray caught me during qualifying the next week. Now here I'm literally making my second start ever, by the way, and he's like, "Come and tell. Here's a new guy. Let's talk to him." So it kind of opens the door for that. And so I guess I'm just not seeing all the all the negatives that anybody's ever thrown at me is like, well, that's not as exciting. I don't know. Like, does everything have to be so exciting?
Well, so that is a great point. I love the tone of voice that you use during that, the inflection.
That crazy. The reason this is happening the way that it's happening right now, guys, is because of the rules package in the Cup Series. So it's advantageous to get a draft.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like in our series, it's not advantageous to get in a draft at any of those type of tracks. In fact, it's probably going to slow you down in the center of the corner more than anything else because you're going to lose front downforce.
Well, so the thing
for the Cup cars, it's advantageous. So right now, what you got going on is like NASCAR's going, "Hey, you guys are screwing this up. Hurry up and do it." Dude, the teams are sitting there going, "What do you mean? I'm doing the thing that's best for me. The thing that's best for me is to try to drop to the back of the pack and get a draft." So, no offense, but my best opportunity to qualify well for my team and my sponsors is to wait until the last possible second and try to shuffle my way to the back and get a draft.
Yeah, well, it's like NASCAR saying, "This is the sandbox that we have to play in. These are the toys we're making available to you. We think you should play with this toy." And you're like, "No, I like this toy over here better."
Well, on top of that,
I don't even want to say it's that though, because it like they're saying, "Okay, well, qualifying structured like this, you guys need to go," but they're like, "Yeah, but the teams are still doing what's best for the teams." So it's like it's never going to change. Like I've heard people say, "Well, you know, as soon as let's make it to where as soon as they come out of their pit stall, they have to go. You can't just stop down there at the end of pit road," which I am perfectly fine with, by the way. I think it's weird that we're able to just roll down there and stop. Like I've always thought that was kind of strange. I mean, I get that we do it because you're doing it so you can.
You and me both, Junior.
You kind of stage up like it's like the old style qualifying where you're sitting there and the spotter goes, "Okay, here comes a hole. Go ahead and go."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what you really. Right? You're just kind of doing it on your own instead of having a NASCAR official stand there and do it. Right? So it's kind of whatever. Point being, like, if you said, "Okay, they're coming out of their pit stall," and then you have to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What's going to happen? They're all going to get on pit road during practice, park in a pit stall, roll down pit road at pit road speed, come around, do a couple laps, and they'll figure out what's the least amount of time they can go on to do it from the pit stall. So it's not going to actually change anything.
Yeah.
It wouldn't change a single thing. They would just figure it out because that's still their best opportunity. So you basically have a rules package that you've created that is creating this situation because it's better to get a draft. So the teams are going to always do what's better for the teams.
Law of unintended consequences. I think, Rusty, you have a comment and I have a comment, and then we need to go to second period.
That's right. I was going to say that NASCAR a lot of times says, "Look, just let's try it and see what happens." And you know, like they've said that about the rules package. They say it about qualifying. You know, a lot of things. And I think that sort of tone works with people like me, at least. Okay, fine. All right, fine. Let's try it. And we tried it. And you know what? It didn't really work all that great. Single car qualifying.
There, guys, and this is going to be me being me here. But when they announced this, there was not a single competitor that thought this was a good idea. Not one. So
I'm not shocked by that.
Here.
There's not a single intelligent fan that thought this was a good idea either.
That's one of those things that NASCAR was like, "Hey, we're doing this."
Yeah.
It wasn't like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" It was like, "Hey, we're doing this now."
Right.
And for me,
RTA wasn't involved.
one of the most frustrating things that I've ever been a part of in my life was Talladega and Daytona group qualifying in the Xfinity Series in 2014. It was the biggest
absurd.
mess. It was the biggest mess I've ever been a part of in my life. And so when they announced this and they were like, well, it's a drafting package, and it's like, yeah, it's better to get a draft. I was like, well, that's just like what we had in Xfinity in 14, and that was a mess because you basically were trying to organize yourself on pit road with a draft pack and stopping and going, and when are you going, and I don't know, and we're trying to wait to the end, and it was exactly what we're watching right now.
Well, you know what's hilarious?
And NASCAR threw it out after 3 races. They went, you know what? This is kind of dumb and dangerous.
Yeah.
This is not great because you got cars lagging back and running up, and it was just a mess. So they got rid of it, and then literally 5 years later, here we are, we're doing this again. It's like, well, I probably could have told you that.
We tried.
If I told you, if you came over here and you were like, you know, I'm thinking about fixing this pipe, and I was like, hey, if you pull that pipe, it's going to just spew water all over the floor, and you're like, yeah, but I mean, I just want to see what happens if I pull the pipe. You're like, dude, I told you.
Now wait, Tommy Joe, wait. I am dead guilty of pulling the pipe.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happened.
I don't know. That was the frustrating part. Is it was like I just want the thing to be fun.
Yeah.
And then NASCAR just wants it to be fun. And I'm fine with them going with the, hey, how are we supposed to know how this thing is going to play out? That's fine. In the fans, I've heard people say, well, this is entertaining. I don't know. When you get all of the competitors, because now you're asking for the competitor opinion here. When all of the Cup guys are standing there in the corral after qualifying and literally nobody is happy.
Yeah.
You honestly say it's probably the most fair competition for a qualifying. It's not a competition. That's just a mess.
Yeah.
Sherwin. Well, so
close us out on this.
I wanted to get and this is both Brett Griffin and Dale Jr. echoed these sentiments this week already, that the people that are tuning in, the fans like us that are tuning in to qualifying, they're already committed. They're pot committed. They've already made their schedule out on Friday afternoon. They're watching qualifying. There's no groundbreaking things that are going to happen with fan growth that are going to happen during qualifying. So let's just go back to what works.
Yeah. Yes. Works for me. So let's move on to second period. Let's go to maybe. You know what? We haven't asked Tommy about his opinion on it. I was going to say, hey, this is a positive note, but I don't know. Tommy, the new schedule. Last week it was announced as David and I were podcasting. We started
pretty much having it at the same time.
At 4. What had happened was, me and him were just kind of BSing before the podcast started, and NASCAR. It was weird. I thought they were going to do a press conference and blah, 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 but they just posted it. And he goes, dude, they just posted it. And this is before we went live on YouTube and live on anything. And so me and him, of course, we just start pouring over it, separately.
Yeah. Right.
And we're like, holy, lots of swear words.
Shit!
Right? Holy, well, I mean, he's from England, so he had all he had a whole new dictionary of cuss words.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He had all kinds of new cuss words for me to talk about. And rolling through it. So then it's just like we just did with Tommy Joe. Is we sat there talking for 10 minutes, and then I went, all right, you know what, David, shut up. We need to start the podcast,
right?
And we need to do all this on the podcast. Actually, this is what we're. This is good content. Why are we wasting
we just
it?
fouled up our audio file
by
not putting this on it.
Why don't we do this? In a recorded format? Anyway. I
was on YouTube, right? Or no?
Maybe not. I don't know. It was 4 p.m. I was wasted by that. No, I'm just messing. Sherwin, let's get your hot take right quick, and then Tommy, I want to hear the competitors' vibe on this, because Sherwin, you weren't here last week, didn't get to give your opinion. I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, sure. So I think Bristol being in the playoff is awesome. It's going to make it way more challenging for us to attend, which is we're just going to figure out a different race to probably go to, which is fine. I think bringing Daytona all the way down to being what is it, the knockout race to get into the playoffs?
Get into the playoffs.
I don't hate that, despite the fact that I've been a detractor of plate racing.
Sure.
I think that's kind of a cool concept.
Mm-hmm. And double Pocono?
Double Pocono, we are going to, by the way, so schedule it. We're going to go with Brett Morris and Julie Bosley. I've already got stuff in the works.
My man.
We're working on it.
And what I said last week was that's the hottest ticket in NASCAR now.
That is now the hottest ticket in NASCAR.
They've done something right there. So, Tommy.
And Atlanta had the hottest ticket this year, but Atlanta's going to move to St. Patty's Day weekend, which is really cool. Just give us a couple more weeks to relax.
Yeah.
We've had some weird weather this month, by the way. Even if it was in April, we probably still would have been cold, but that's okay. But
you remember we were sunburned in February this year. Like,
I was super sunburned.
Yeah,
super
it was
sunburned.
stupid. We didn't. Of course, we didn't bring sunblock. It's winter in Atlanta.
It was winter,
but we got sunburned. It was hot. Tommy,
and we didn't figure out a way to run into Tommy's. That's not on you, Tommy. That's on us. We didn't figure it out.
Yeah. Tommy, the competitor's perspective. What does this schedule change mean to you?
Oh, I'm stoked. I mean, I think it's great. To me, this was like that first step. And if you've listened to a lot of Steve Phelps talking about kind of the state and what they're trying to do with the schedule and the changes over the next few years, this was that kind of like exciting first step at this. And I thought they did some really cool stuff, like the Pocono doubleheader weekend. That's great.
Oh, we're going.
That's a great idea. And that's a great idea, because the problem there is you go, well, we need to shorten the schedule. But what is no track, nobody is going to sit there and say, well, we could just lose a date. Like, nobody's going to say that, right? It's just going to just be like great wailing and gnashing of teeth from like every track owner and operator to not be the one that gets cut, right? So you don't want to cut the schedule down. Okay, how can you condense it? All right, doubleheader weekend. So it's the same number of races, but we're getting it over. We just cut a week out of it. Like, that's a great idea, wonderful idea. Also, the doubleheader thing, from a team standpoint, I look at this financially and go, okay, so let me get this straight. So I'm going to go to Pocono once, but I'm going to get paid twice.
My man.
That's great. I'm all for that. That's wonderful. So I hope that happens at a lot of more tracks, especially the ones that we wind up going to twice. And there's some of those. Like, I think the idea of going to Bristol twice is cool. Like, go to Bristol twice, because it's like 3 hours for most of the teams. Like,
well, and it's a day race versus a night race.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, let's go to Charlotte twice. Let's go to Richmond twice. Okay, fine. That's all good. When you start talking about going, like, across the country twice, like Vegas, it's just it's a long way. So I think they're making these steps. This is all part of a grand plan, which is we're NASCAR, and we don't want to compete with the NFL head-to-head in the fall, which, smart move. Nobody wants to compete with football in the fall. So I think what they're really trying to do here is like bracket this down, and they're clearly saying that they're open to doubleheaders, moving dates around, and potentially midweek races. So I think that's what's going to happen here. You're going to see that shuffle around more in the next couple of years. The season itself is going to shrink and condense, which is great for the teams. Love that. You tell me my season is shorter, but I'm still getting paid the same amount of money. Awesome. Loving that. And the idea that we're not going to have to travel as much, that's great. So it's all good things. Like, I think nothing but good things. My one caveat with the schedule was that I thought Homestead Miami was just such a cool place to have the championship. It was awesome. It's a great track. And I think that was what made Homestead Miami really special, was the fact that it did host that race.
Yeah, I don't think they're alone in that.
I just feel like it's losing a little bit of the luster there, but I know why this happened. Let me give you guys like the business take here. So International Speedway Corporation owns Homestead. They also own
ISM
Phoenix.
Speedway.
Correct.
ISM, which they have just sunk a ton of money into.
A good ton.
And you know what they just lost? They just lost Ford as a sponsor to Ford Championship Weekend.
Ford Championship Weekend. So there's some business stuff going on here, but I can say this. ISM Raceway is immaculate. I mean, it is awesome what they did with that facility. I was very critical of it. I was outspoken about it. I felt like it was a lot of money being spent. When I've sat there and obviously I've complained about the teams not being able to afford the tires most weeks, and they were spending $400 or $500 million on a renovation or whatever it was. But I will say it is going to be a tremendous place to host the championship. It's great. I love the fact that we're going to go to a championship race where like guys are using the brakes. Like you could like put the bumper on somebody at Phoenix. Like you can't really.
Hell
do
yeah.
that.
I haven't heard that vocalized yet. I like that.
Yeah.
Where
Like that's
going
that's
somewhere with
kinda
breaks.
cool. Like
Okay.
like on the last
Gotta drive.
start with 10 to go, like somebody could be putting the bumper on somebody. Like that could actually happen at Phoenix. So really cool. Like I think
We saw Carl do it to Kyle, right? Just a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah. How much do you think that Jim France has to do with all this?
I think it's more Steve Phelps,
say a
but
lot.
Jim France is definitely a big participant in these kind of decisions.
Absolutely. And like I think Ben Kennedy.
Yeah, he's
was,
right.
Was
Yes.
mentioned as one of a big.
Ben Kennedy has moved over to the competition side.
Work. Yeah, so I think Ben Kennedy can be attributed to a lot of this. Some of those were ideas. Like I posted a schedule. This was like last year, maybe the year before, where I kind of just threw a schedule out.
I remember this.
Here's my idea for a 30 race deal.
I remember this. Yeah.
And honestly, I thought the schedule that they put out here in the last few weeks, it had some ideas that I hadn't even thought of. I didn't think of a doubleheader weekend. Like that's great. That's a great idea. So I think that some of that stuff is really neat. So I like the fact that we're being really progressive with our schedule and we're open to moving things around. I think race fans are very open to it. We're going to get a good product out there on the racetrack.
And this is kind of an appetizer, right? I mean, because we're still in some contracts.
Yeah.
We're still doing stuff.
fighting
like
with TV stuff.
2021, it gets blown wide open.
We don't know if Fox is even coming back.
Yeah.
It could be we have
It's gonna be a
another
big
partner.
game changer, yeah.
Comcast has been rumored to be buying the entire series.
yeah,
Those things are happening.
Comcast and NBC are the same thing. And blah, blah,
I
blah.
think one of the cool things, like if I really want to dive in real quick to the doubleheader at Pocono, is Junior talked about on his podcast this week about, okay, so how would you do it? Like, okay, you're going to have a Saturday race and a Sunday race, and they're different. And how would you do it? And he's like, I want to run a 300-mile race on Saturday. I want to run a 400-mile race on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
that's cool.
Especially if we're
I
already
think
going to run either
300s
trucks or
was kind of the basic. Like when I first heard that idea, I said, well, twin 300s would be really good there.
Yeah.
And then you could potentially have the truck race on Saturday. So on the Saturday, you have trucks and Cup.
Yeah, trucks
on
run
Sunday,
100 laps.
You have Xfinity and Cup. All right, so you get 2 races per day. Like that works out pretty well.
I think you're right. I think that would be great if we could see a trucks 150 or 175 on Saturday with a 300 Cup race. And
Yeah, so all the fans
day-
would get
gosh.
500 miles of racing both days.
The
Yeah.
density
I think that
of
works out.
racing.
See a 200 and then a 300.
I think
with
that's what-
Xfinity
yeah.
and Cup the next day. Like you would, it would instantly become the most valuable weekend in NASCAR.
And that's what Pocono's doing, and suddenly Pocono, which I think even objectively we can say hasn't had the best racing, but I mean it's a place like for me and you that we
Well, they need to
absolutely
put the
wanna
grip
go.
strip back in
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
3, and then we're good to go.
So it's just unique, guys. It's just unique.
Oh, and that's the thing;
one of those
it's on
places
the
that's
bucket list
like,
because of that. But
when you hit the setup at Pocono, you were just kicking everybody's butt.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like there's nowhere to hide. Like you're just killing everybody.
Yeah.
And the field's going to get spread out there. So I like the fact that they went, you know what? There's something to this track. It's cool. Like we definitely weren't. We're not just running away from Pocono.
Well, and we don't know
but
yet.
We're going to make Pocono a unique weekend rather than we're going to Pocono spread 4 weeks apart, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like I love the fact they're kind of taking a different approach to it. It's really good.
Yeah, and we don't know yet. There is still in the rumor mill that IndyCar may be a part of that weekend on one of the 2 days. So that would be awesome for me. I love cross-pollination and racing. That
Absolutely.
would be really cool.
Yeah. Even if how many times have been? Wasn't it in Atlanta? I think 2 years ago or a year ago. Like there was Supercross, the same like the Saturday.
Right, that was the one where Clint Boyer crashed his motorcycle into the fence.
yeah. But
It was like 3 years ago, I think.
That was awesome. Just even having that kind of
They
crossover.
had all those guys run a hot lap, and he just crashed his shit right in the fence.
I mean, he didn't crash. He yard sailed.
Yeah, he definitely yard sailed it.
Yeah, he went for it.
Oh man. So let's move on. Fourth period, or no, I'm going to skip third period. I don't like that topic. We've talked about the package way too much.
Third period.
Let's go to we're gonna
go to lunch and smoke a joint.
I was about to say we're going under the bleachers and smoke cigarettes during third period. Fourth period, we're coming back. We're talking about Texas a little bit. You know what? Back when a few weeks ago, which track was it that Kyle Busch did not win after he got that penalty, that speeding penalty? And I was saying, you know what? With this new package, maybe that's a thing where it makes these drivers have to be more honest on pit road. And then suddenly,
I don't remember the track.
Suddenly this week,
it's got to be a track where tires don't matter.
Suddenly this week, Denny Hamlin gets 2 penalties. One his penalty, one his crew's penalty.
Guess what didn't matter?
None of those. So
tires didn't matter.
I have to take back. I don't know why I brought this up. Is like I made some sort of insightful comment a few weeks ago, and now I have to. Now I have to retract it.
You know what didn't matter in Texas? Tires.
Well, that's a fair point. So, how can you come back from 2 penalties like that and win the? I mean, me and Sherwin were texting back and forth. We got this. I don't know if it's an inside joke or an outside joke at this point, but every time that Denny commits a pit road violation, it's as funny as
instantaneous.
It's you know what? Every time that Wile E. Coyote runs over a cliff trying to chase the Roadrunner, I laugh my butt off, and the whole slide whistle thing, splat. Bang. My wife has made fun of me in terms of this is the same joke every time, Rusty. What's good?
It's a good joke.
I'm like, it's a good joke. This is funny. Every time he does it, I'm laughing. Every time Denny Hamlin is cheating on pit road, I'm, it's the same thing. It's Wile E. Coyote running off the cliff. So, sure.
Sorry.
So we were texting back and forth about how funny it was, and now the egg's on our face because Denny Hamlin wins the race. How crazy!
Yeah, because Denny wins the race.
Yeah. Tommy, what is different about Texas? How are you able to do that?
I think you guys are right on track there with the tires, where it allows you to maybe take different runs at strategy to be able to make a comeback on it. You go to a place like Atlanta, it's like we're taking 4 every time. Period.
You're taking 4 after 11 laps.
You're taking 4 and a spare tire in the trunk.
Yeah. So I think Texas allowed people to change up the strategies a little bit. And obviously, Denny was pretty quick too, so that helps.
Well, yeah. I mean, his car didn't suck, obviously, but I mean, I think it's that weird deal where I don't even necessarily hate it, to be honest with you, that it changes from track to track, that we have all these different strategies. I just want to understand. I want NASCAR and Goodyear and everybody to be clairvoyant and outspoken about the fact that, look, we're going to make a hard tire for this surface because it's brand new and it's got a lot of grip. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hope teams that make some very interesting strategy calls. If you just said that at the front end of that race, nobody would lose their mind.
Right.
Yeah. So,
look, I'm with you. I think that's fair. I think it's one of those things. As a team, we expect it. On BJ's team, we run scuffed tires a lot. I love going to a track like Texas from that standpoint because I go, well, we're going to get scuffed tires and they're not going to fall off as bad as what they would normally fall off. So which also allowed us to have the kind of run that we were able to have. If it was a place like Atlanta and we were trying to run scuffed tires,
see ya.
How you think that goes?
Yeah. You'd be running tires that somebody ran over.
But then again, I say that Auto Club Speedway is literally the oldest surface on the entire circuit. We ran scuffed tires there and we wound up finishing 20th. So.
Oh, fair
That's because you're a good race car driver, Tommy. Don't,
my man.
So
don't discount your skill set.
Validated with my point, literally 2 weeks before that. So maybe not.
It was very telling, Sherwin, this last time when we were walking through pit road in at Atlanta, and do you remember we saw all these brand new tires, and I can't remember which team it was, and it was obviously all scuffs.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was
the
like,
media had tweeted out that they were going to get 11 sets, and we counted 13.
well, and we come across one team, and they were all scuffs, and it was
Yeah, it was very easy to you're going to suck.
It's going to be a long day.
It wasn't your team, Tommy. Sorry. It wasn't,
Yeah.
not yours.
Dude, we hadn't had 11 sets of tires ever. So.
in a season.
So, I mean, when we walked past the Hendricks and the Penske's, media had tweeted out they were getting 11 sets. They legit had 13 brand new sets of tires staged.
Yeah. So that's just to keep
just waiting to buy that extra set if NASCAR allowed them to do
about
it.
$30,000.
Yeah. Tommy, let's go to recess. Recess is a fun question always. The Wood brothers yesterday had a hauler that got in a wreck. There was, and the reason I mentioned this, there was no injuries, there was no damage other than to the hauler itself.
No human being was hurt.
No human being was hurt. Nothing like that. There was some hauler, something that happened. Something in the trailer
stuff.
Yeah.
I think somebody lost a bumper.
Yeah. Whatever it was. But Tommy, I'm wondering. I'd love to hear. Well, I don't know if I'd love to hear because then you have to relive it. But have you had any hauler or otherwise? Always laughing.
Incidents.
So I'm going to stop here, and you're going to tell your story. Go for it.
Oh, have we had some incidents? Yeah, we've had some incidents. We've literally had to cancel going to a race because our hauler's broken down.
Oh no!
Oh no!
That was like in Iowa with Matt Mills driving our truck in 2017. We literally just had to be like, "Sorry, Matt, we can't go." We're on the road and ain't going to make it. I had to turn around.
Our crap's broke. Sorry, Bubba.
Yeah, so probably the best one. This is 2014. So our little small Xfinity team.
This is recent, by the way. This isn't like back in 02 or something.
No,
15,
this is 5 years
years
ago.
ago.
This is not long ago.
This is like recent history. We were adults.
Yeah, this is just sad recent history. So we had this trailer. It was kind of a heavier trailer. It was a little older. And got out there to the West Coast. No problem. All right, so here we go. We're loaded up, ready to come back to the East Coast. I'm driving, by the way. I'm driving my own personal vehicle. My crew chief is driving a hauler. He's got another guy with him. There's only 4 of us on the team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's 4 of us on the team. So me and the other guy take off. We head back home. All right, they're driving the truck. And they're going to be a little further behind us, obviously. But it's not a big deal. Well, they have a blowout. They have a tire blowout. And you go, well, that sucks. And they're kind of stuck in the middle of the desert, like out there between Nevada and whatever.
New some Mexico. Of those other states that don't matter.
Right. So it's just like out in the middle of nowhere. So they got to wait a little while, and then finally, okay, fix it up. All right, get back on the road. Tire blows out again. Tire blows out again.
Somebody.
So they gotta wheel it back and they fix it up again. All right, so they get going again. 3 tires blow out. So they're stuck on the side of the road again. All in all, basically we had gone out west. We had done a couple of start parks and run a few races out there. It was basically to try to get a little money. We had missed the race at Daytona. And so basically all the money that we had saved up from the 3 races on the West Coast, we immediately just started buying hauler tires one at a time from different repair shops throughout the Southwest. So it took them literally, it's normally a 3-day trip in the hauler. It's 3 to 4 days. It took them basically a week to get back. And the last stretch of it, I felt so bad for the other guy, the other
penny wise and pound foolish.
He was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll get to ride the hauler. I'll just sleep in the back. It'll be good. We'll be home a few days. Not a big deal. Yeah, it did not work out. So that was probably our worst hauler story. We blew up, I believe it was like 8 tires on that hauler on the way back.
Good God.
Man.
It was really bad.
That's funny. He got a week's worth of sleep though, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Theoretically.
He said after the 3rd time they started having blowouts, he literally just started walking down the road. I'm just going to walk. I'm just tired. I'm just tired of being in this truck.
My dad
had been gone for 3 days. It hadn't gone more than about 400 miles.
My dad grew up dirt poor, y'all, like barefoot poor kind of stuff.
Oh, my mom too.
Yeah. And,
oh yeah.
And so once
Section 8 housing.
Once he got enough, I think like in what was it? He was in early high school when he got a job, and he got the job so that he could have meat every night on the table. Like we're going to eat meat every night, right?
Right.
And then later on, he gets a job so that he can get a TV in the household. This was in like the 70s, right?
Oh,
so
sure.
That he can, so that they can have a TV in his house, right? So fast forward
a TV.
Fast forward another 30 years, and he's doing good enough. He and you know, I'm born and all that mess. I don't know why he would have a kid this poor, but he buys himself a Cadillac because he can afford it. You know what? And it's a 1985 Cadillac Seville. And
back when it was an Oldsmobile with a Cadillac badge on it.
This thing, between the ages, if I'm trying to think, the ages that I was maybe like 10 to 15
like
or 10.
4 to...
Or maybe
10.
it was like 8 to 15 or so, my age, that he had this. Maybe less than that. But point is, this thing had a flat tire every other week. Y'all, I can change a flat tire faster than a NASCAR crew can. And I'm talking about I got to go in the
tire iron.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got to go in
with a tar iron.
I got to go into the trunk and get the tire iron. Yeah, and I got to get that stupid scissor jack that just.
That thing sucks too.
The old 70 pump scissor jack out.
yeah, and I tell you what,
NASCAR
and
you have to find the right spot so it doesn't bend the whole body.
NASCAR crew ain't got nothing on Rusty. Changing a tire on a 1985 Cadillac
This reminds
Seville.
me of, I don't know if you guys saw this. Maybe it's on Twitter somewhere. It was a video. It was 1970s or 80s. I think it was 80s. But it was Junior Johnson doing a pit stop.
Slamming that dude with the freaking jack.
Yeah, just literally the garage floor jack was basically what they were using on a pit stop back then. And you would have to whip it around.
Oh, he wiped out a NASCAR guy.
And so he whips it around and just takes out an official. And it's
I mean, just dropped a NASCAR official
and
on
didn't
his
hesitate at
ass.
all either. Like dropped him and just kept going with the stop. Like we're not like, are you okay? It's just great. Junior Johnson's a legend.
Well,
that's. I mean, so the Wood brothers and Junior Johnson basically created the first two revolutions of the pit stop.
Right. Really.
In terms
there
of,
you go. We got it all back to the Wood brothers somehow.
There it is.
Why not? I mean, it's NASCAR lore.
That's what we do here. Let's do this. You know what, Tommy? Plug the podcast, man. How's the podcast going?
Drivers
Podcast.
Meeting Podcast. So really cool. Doing that with my friend David Barr, who's a terrific photographer and just in all sorts of media stuff that he does. He's really great. So he's been producing the pod. We've been trying to fit it in on race weekends. I bought $400 worth of podcast and stuff, y'all. So I made a sizable investment, and I think it's turning out good. Turned out pretty well. We've had Garrett Smithley on. We've had Austin Terrio on.
Yes.
And most recently, we've had Brandon Brown on for the new episode that's going to be coming out this week. He's had a lot of success early on this season, starting that team up. So really cool. Like, I think we're still kind of finding the voice for the podcast. Like, I got to figure out the format a little more. I got to figure out kind of our niche, which I think is just going to be interviewing drivers. Interviewing drivers from either past or present and getting their takes on kind of some modern stuff and some of the stuff they've gone through and telling some stories that aren't just normally coming to light, maybe shedding some light on some guys that wouldn't normally get to be on podcasts or get some of the spotlight. So, and also probably some opinions from me, which everybody seems to want. So we found a way to maybe fit some of that in the last episode, talking about qualifying and talking about some of this other stuff. So we're going to do that. And so that's what I'm really looking for. Like, I've enjoyed doing the podcast. It's cool. Finding the time to do it on a race weekend is tough. To fit in that hour. And so we had to come in at like 6:30 in the morning over there in Texas.
F-bomb.
Dalen did. Dalen was there at 6:30. I was there at 10 after 7 to Dalen. But he had everything set up and be able to just roll in there and run with it. So finding the time is a big thing, but now kind of finding our format and like what's our style. you know, like, because you don't want to just sound the same as everybody else. You don't want to, you want to do something kind of unique. And so what's going to be our thing? And,
Well, you
and
don't. You definitely don't want to sound like us.
Well, I was about to say 189 episodes in. I don't know if we found our style.
Right. I don't know if we found our style
Is this
yet.
a style? What is this? What are we doing?
Bunch of hollering.
Yeah, our
Fools.
style, drink beer,
I'm trying to get
and
into this podcast, basically, so you guys don't need to trash yourselves that much. I'm a glutton for punishment. I keep coming back.
I hear you, man. So, shout-outs, Sherwin. You had a few hosts of the Braves game yesterday. The home
so
opener.
I went to my very first Braves home opener yesterday, and I want to thank Rich and Tina and Katie because they were very great hosts and hostesses at the tailgate. I very much enjoyed myself, and Braves had a very good result.
Excellent. So, shout-outs to at Braves Ninja, at ATL Braves Girl 12, and at Kate Whiskey _. So, yeah, cool. With that, Sherwin and Tommy, let's gas it up. Bristol, dude. There it is. Tommy, your tweets about Bristol seem to have been like, this is awesome. Like the wave
This is
of,
what we play
the
for.
momentum, everything else.
Very Bill Burr-esque.
You feel like it feels like you are ready for some freaking Bristol. How's it feel?
Ready. I am so ready for some Bristol.
Man.
I'm
I've been
chomping
drinking
at the
green
bit.
tea all day.
I've been drinking.
I've been drinking green tea all day. I'm ready.
Do you know that quote? That's for I don't remember.
Oh
which-
that's from Talladega Nights, I believe, right?
No,
green
it's
tea all day.
it's
from
from
Hot Rod.
Oh,
What was it?
It's from Hot Rod.
Hot Rod,
That's
yeah.
from
Hot Rod. I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day.
That's from my
Woo!
favorite. Hot Rod is from all time.
Give me 2 Ric
Yeah,
Flairs on a hell yeah. Woo!
so great. So good.
man.
Yeah, no, we're chomping at the bit for Bristol. So look, that's a home race kind of for my sponsor, Diamond Gusset. They're out of Bon Aqua, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville. So they're coming over, David Hall, and he's bringing a guest. And then have another sponsor, AAN Adjusters, which was on the car last year. Ken Gilreath, that's a Knoxville-based company. They do insurance adjustments and claims. And so he's going to be back on the hood. So
Sweet.
my family's coming.
Sweet.
Bristol is if I could tell anybody to go to one race
Yes.
a year, you just got to go to Bristol.
Gotta go to
You
Bristol.
gotta go to Bristol.
You can
You've
see
gotta
everything.
Go to Bristol.
It's so fast. It's so intense. It's so loud. You're just right up on it. It's so cool to be a part of it, and so that's for me. It's the fact that I get to go do it. It's still like when you walk in there and you're like, holy crap, I'm driving in here. It's gotta be. It's just still really neat. It's gonna be tough. Look, it's a place where a team like ours, if we're running right, we know we can get a top 15. I know that.
I'm gonna need a ride
Got our car.
along with you at Bristol.
Yeah,
At some point, we're gonna have to figure this out.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll get out there and we'll figure out something in the pace car or something.
I love it. So there's a new tire coming to Bristol. It's only going to be run there, Xfinity and
Is it a
Cup.
radial or bias?
Is this what
It's a radial.
have you?
Which one's more expensive?
Is this
It's that
well more expensive? Other than the expense, is there any difference for you? I just saw that. Hey, they're running this Bristol only tire. What's going on?
So
Are they putting the
change
boogers down
compounds a
again?
lot, guys? Yeah, so they change the compounds kind of year to year.
Yeah.
With that, where they always generally mix that up based on the track we're going to.
Yeah,
I got
Are
you.
they putting the boogers down again, Tommy?
I have no idea. So I will probably get a
snot
text
or
in the next
whatever
day or two
we're
from our
calling
series
that
director Wayne Otten, and he'll tell us all about where they're putting the treatment stuff down. So if
Okay.
they're doing that, I have no idea.
I would
10-4.
assume that they are.
So
I personally
Uh-huh.
want to be able to run the wall there. I like that. I think it's cool. I know that a lot of fans and everybody wants to just go to the bottom. I can just tell you that is like the most frustrating crap for us because the thing is, like, if I'm running the top, I can always go to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So if we're all running the top, if I need to get around somebody, I can like set them up and do kind of a slide job on them and go to the bottom and clear them or whatever. But when you treat the bottom that much, it's like you basically make the top like unrunnable because it just gets so slick and nasty up there. And so that, I don't know, personal preference, I hope they don't, but they have done that for several years now, and I'm assuming they're probably going to do the same thing, and we'll find out about it.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah,
there's going to be a blast either way. It's going to be a blast either way. Let me make that clear on the front end. And it's a great race every time, either way. It's awesome. So the track changes so much over the course of the weekend. It's neat to see. It's almost like a dirt track in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think from a fan perspective, at least, I think Rusty and I both agree on this, that while we have only been going to Bristol during this period of time where most of the racing is happening at the top, and then we've experienced 3 years now of the boogers.
Yeah, of the boogers, the VHT, the PCH, the 1X.
Yeah,
Delta,
DJ1,
DJ1. That's we're just making up shit.
We did not hate at all the racing at the top of the racetrack.
Oh yeah,
I think
you can speak for me on that.
It was a lot of fun.
It's really a thrill. And again, maybe I'm looking at this just kind of like a
PB&J.
I'm looking at this like a driver.
PJ1, VHT.
Anything that I think is kind of like the separator of like the people that are willing to go up there and do it and the ones that aren't. Like anything that can be that type of a separator where maybe like that's something I feel comfortable doing.
You mean if somebody has a set of nuts on them?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's just easy to roll it in there and do it. It's not. It's hard.
Shit, no, it's not. I watched Dale Jr. dime in that corner.
It's easy to screw it up too, but there is definitely a thrill to it when you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, that's part of this is kind of the fun, the thrill of it, and getting to do something that you kind of push yourself a little bit and you're kind of on that edge and there's a sweet spot there, and that to me is the fun part of it.
So, we want go ahead, Rusty.
No, let's. You ready to do some picks?
Yeah, let's pick them up.
Let's do some picks. Here's Dale Jr. to give us that.
Start your engines!
That's got to be. I got to make that way louder. I don't I don't know why.
It's got to be a little bit almost annoying.
Yeah, a little absurd. So last week, David picked Ryan Blaney, who ended up 37th. Nice work, David.
What ended up happening? Was he blowing motor, or was it a power steering or something? He broke something important.
I'm not sure what happened. So, I watched the first bit of the race. Kind of, I was doing something on the main TV, so I turned the second TV. To the race, and suddenly Ryan Blaney isn't a thing anymore in the race.
Right, he was a thing for a while though.
Yeah, he was. Sherwin, you picked Chase. Solid finish. Solid for, I would say, Hendrick and
unlucky
Chevy
13th
lately, but 13th. I picked Kyle. And here's the thing. I don't know how many subtraction points I'm supposed to get for this, but I said I'm betting Kyle wins by 4 seconds. Now, Kyle finished 10th, although he was leading for quite a while there before the hiccup
I don't
deal.
Think he was very happy after all of his pit road stuffs.
Yeah, and I don't think he was happy with his. It sounds like it looked like he just made a mistake. You know,
I think so.
Yeah.
And so that'll happen.
You know, so he ended up 10th. I hate to say I won because 37th. Well, we won. We if you add our two together, we're still 14 places above David. So, David, I'm going to continue to give you
Tommy
crap.
Snort.
Yes. So it's time to pick. Time to pick for this week. Tommy, why don't you kick us off? Who do you think is the Bristol champion this week in the Cup Series?
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch.
I mean, are we even?
Damn it!
Name a track. A track. At this point, it's Kyle Busch. I mean, you cannot pick against this guy right now. He's too hot. Team's too good. They're on too much of a roll.
And
the only way they have lost is when they've shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And he has 8 wins at Bristol.
Probably the best driver at Bristol on the entire circuit. So
there's no doubt. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
yeah.
So you're yeah. I'll go ahead and take him.
That was kind of like pick a number 1 through 100, and you can pick 1 through 90 for free. There's all that. So me and Sherwin, we got 91 through 100. Sherwin, who are you picking?
I'm picking Joey Logano.
Joey. My man. I'm writing that you might have heard me type.
I saw that.
I'm doing that.
Actively typing.
Well, I'm doing that. And I've been drinking a little, so it was a little bit extra flair.
There was definitely some extra volume there.
Went a little higher on the keys.
Who you got, Rusty?
Well, give some flair on Joey. What is Joey just like? This is my rando pick, or do you have some like insider information? What's the story?
Joey is really good at short tracks, as it turns out,
and at Talladega, or I would say plate tracks, but especially something
we're
like
at
Talladega.
Bristol.
He's just good.
Well, so that's the point. Yeah, he's just good
in the sport right now.
He's
guys,
really
The
good.
two best teams in the sport are Penske and Joe Gibbs.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
So that's where they're at.
Joey
They
has
have
a very
separated
tall
themselves.
trophy that says "I'm really good at NASCARing," as it turns out. So
So, safe bet.
he drives a NASCAR really well.
Safe bet with Joey.
He's
an
been good at
absolute
Bristol,
stud.
and Penske has been really good at Bristol as a whole, and he's good at Bristol, and Penske's been really good at Bristol as a whole.
I'm gonna
There you
pick
go.
I'm gonna pick a guy who has led fewer
I'm gonna
laps.
pick a guy.
I'm gonna pick a guy who's led fewer laps this year than he has in the last 5 years, and is due for something big.
Oh, hold on.
Who are you gonna guess?
Who am I going to figure out?
Okay.
Who
I would have to go back and look. I think he's led 133 this year, if I remember that. And
This year.
I'm good with numbers up to this point.
But
7
not
races
at
in.
Bristol, just as a
Oh, no,
whole.
no. This year he's led 133, and the last 5 years he's averaged up to this point, I believe, 300 laps led.
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick is who I'm picking. Well done, sir. I got to give you the high five on that one. That was killer.
Can I give you guys like a sneaky one here?
Please.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to say winner of the race, but Matt DiBenedetto
DiBurrito!
is really good at Bristol, and he has never been on a better team than this in his life. And we're talking about Joe Gibbs being hot. That's a satellite Gibbs team now, that 95. And like, I expect him to be in the top 10 all day. I really do. I expect him to just have a really big kind of statement career type day.
Well,
So
yeah,
here's
it
the
was-
thing. We talked about qualifying, Tommy. Do you expect him to make a really big splash in qualifying, or do you expect
do.
him to make a run through the field?
I do. I expect them to be in the top 12 all weekend.
Fantastic.
I will be very
Okay.
surprised
Yeah,
if they're
That's
not.
awesome.
Was it? He got, wasn't it 6th 2
Yeah,
years ago?
he finished,
and
he
like,
finished
was
sixth
crying?
in
Yeah.
like
Oh, hell
a-
yeah. Yeah,
in a
no, he
BK racing
crushed it.
car
BK racing car. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
in the cup
yeah.
in the Cup Series. Like, I don't know if I can like stress just how ridiculous that is. It's just ridiculous.
Well, so to your point there, Tommy, one of the big things that Steve Phelps was talking about on Junior's podcast this week is how short tracks offer an opportunity for people whose skill set can give them this opportunity to get a great finish, and how we should celebrate that, and why people like Junior and everybody else would say, can we run more short tracks? Because this is what we're seeing happening on a regular basis. So, and especially
Absolutely.
same thing with road courses. So anyway, I'll let you
Sure.
talk.
For sure.
Well,
No, I think you're right on the money.
we have. I mean, we've been talking on the show for an hour and 15 already.
Yeah,
so
we did a long one.
We're gonna give the folks some reprieve and maybe have them something to. What is it? Leave them with something to be desired for
Yeah.
the next time that we have Tommy Joe Martins on. Tommy, this was
That
an
sounds good, guys.
absolute blast, brother. I think the culmination of all those things happening, qualifying, the schedule, the package, Texas, everything going on, and with all the stuff, congratulations again on what your recent accomplishments are, plus the drivers podcast that you have going on. Man, this is a blast. We love doing this. This is why we do it every week, in and out. Close us out. Tell the folks what's going on, where they can find you. When's the next podcast coming out?
Podcast coming out tomorrow. Podcast going to drop tomorrow. Follow it on Twitter, Drivers Podcast. We'll tell you all about that. You can find me online on Twitter at Tommy Joe Martin. Same thing on Instagram. You can follow along there. A race coming up this weekend. Diamond Gusset on the car, AEN Adjusters on the car. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them on Instagram as well. You can look them up. So a lot of stuff going on. BJ McLeod Motorsports. If you're not following them, they'll keep you updated all throughout the weekend as well. It's going to be a big weekend. Can't wait, man. Just cannot wait to get back to Tennessee.
Tommy Joe.
All right, big shout out to Diamond Gus at Jeans.
My man. Yeah. Let's get us some Diamond Gusses. Let's get us a bunch of them.
Heck yeah.
It's time to do that. Y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is on Twitter at PTM Podcast. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm at Pregame Engineer on the old Twitter and at Andrew L. Sherwin on the Instagrams.
Y'all be sure to give us a follow, give us a like. Hey, rate us on iTunes. Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
The only thing
you
that we
can either
ask,
give us a 0 or a 5. That's pretty much all we get, and it's hilarious either way.
the only thing we ask is that you give us 5-star or 1-star. That's always
Right? Yeah. Don't give us 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
Those are not
5,
funny.
or give us a
1 star's funny.
1 star's funny.
5 stars awesome.
Star funny.
That's it.
Y'all are the best. PTM Posse, thank you for joining. We'll talk to y'all next week. See ya.
Hi.
There it is. Closed it out there. Tommy,
Cool.
as always, we're still live on the YouTube, but we are closed out on anything that we're going to put on the
Yep.
iTunes.
And I'm going to have to get closed out here too, guys. So I appreciate you having me on.
My man, same.
Thank you, Tommy. I
Same
appreciate
to you.
it, bud.
Sorry we
Thanks,
keep you
fellas.
on for so long, but
No,
it's
it's all good, man.
so much fun
All
talking. Dude, Bristol, best of luck. We're so excited to. I don't know. We're as excited. Well, I shouldn't say we're as excited you are. That's impossible. But we are. You know, we share in the excitement of what's going down this week with what you got going on amidst all the success and all that. So,
Oh, yeah. Appreciate
blah,
it,
blah.
guys.
Thanks,
you guys
brother.
are.
I
you guys are
listened
the
to you
best.
on the Skinner.
absolutely.
Oh, it'll be entertaining. I'll tell you that.
Hey, do you have any? Are you going to be at any? What do you call it? Like fan? What is it? Like
Fan
autograph sessions or anything
crap
this
at
weekend?
Talladega.
I don't know. I don't know if they're doing one at Bristol this weekend or not. I haven't
Okay.
found out yet. So
And
I'll find that out.
How about Talladega?
If there is one, I'll post it. I won't be at Talladega. I'll be out of the country.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
gotcha.
10-4. All right, brother.
Yep.
You have a good
All
one,
right,
man.
guys.
Looking forward
Thanks,
to it.
fellas.
See ya.
All right, see you, man.
Well, y'all, folks on the
There it is.
YouTuber, Sherwin, I gotta pee.
That'll happen sometimes.
So let's close this thing down. I don't know what to say. Tommy he's the best. He's so much fun. He's I don't I don't know.
He's an amazing human being. He gets a lot out of his race cars, and he's very generous with his time.
Well, and we were texting earlier, and Sherwin's like, dude, I'm sorry, my show notes are like super thin this week. I'm like, dude, I'm like, usually I'm stressing out. Not stressing. That's the wrong word. Rusty doesn't stress about anything. To talk about myself in third person, but I'm usually going, show notes are a bit thin, or I'm not sure if we've got enough to talk about, blah, blah, blah. But we know when Tommy's on, hey, let's just give Tommy,
We're going to have to
something.
cut segments.
Well, yeah. We're going to have to skip periods. We're going to have to go into, under the bleachers, smoke cigarettes. But, it's...
He's chatty.
well, but he's insightful is a thing. So
Yeah,
that's the best part, is we know we're going to get that insightfulness, whatever it is, that insight. And so, it's so much fun talking to Tommy. So,
I love talking to Tommy.
great time. And you know what? I think it really means something, too, when you have a guest who you're like, for example, if me and Sherwin were to sit down and talk NASCAR, I might write like 3 words, like, oh, make sure you talk about these 3 things, and that's really what the show notes were today.
Pretty much.
As I said,
Yep.
I was like, qualifying, schedule, and 2 or 3 other ththings, actually. I might have wrote more than 3 words. Anyway, point is, Tommy's best. So
Point is, Tommy is fucking rocks. Sorry.
it's all good. We're on the
for
YouTube.
y'all.
This is After Dark. Oh, dude, I said I'd tell the After
NASCAR
Dark.
or a PTM After Dark.
I said I would tell the joke after the show on PTM After Dark.
What was the joke?
You remember at the top of the show, I said, hey, Sherwin was in Miami, and I've got Oh, I'm not going to tell that joke.
Oh
we
yeah,
gotta do
tell
it.
it, tell it, tell it.
This is no, it's
Tell
not.
your
So it's
joke.
not. It's not that bad or anything. I was just like, that's probably a bit too colorful.
YouTubey.
For the recorded podcast, but for the YouTube, we're all good. What I had read this and it killed me. And it said the best thing about Miami is that it's really close to the United States.
Oh, love it.
Now, there's a little bit of racy stuff in that, but hey, if you can
that
just
is
appreciate
really funny.
really good cultural humor, I would hope that you can appreciate that one. I love that joke, and
Oh no, that's absolutely.
I love where
hilarious.
it comes from. So
So I'm gonna play a. Right, we're gonna close with Tyler Childers. Hold on. Search Tyler Childers. This is So this is
So, by the way, Beast says from Boondock Saints, continue the joke, and I wrote,
continue the joke.
"I'll have a Coke."
Yeah. So I'll have a Coke, please.
So, Beast, we're with you. Anyway,
Yeah.
Sherwin.
So me and Brett Morris, who I'm going to the Indy 500 with, we have created alter egos. He is T. Wayne Wooderson, and I am Daryl Sweetwater III.
Oh, you win, by the way. That's incredible.
This is our theme song, so y'all live it up.
Only had a couple drinks last night and a few good hits from an endless pipe, but I must admit I had a few white lines and I don't know what all happened. I woke up in the noontime light with a pounding head, shiner on my eye, and I don't know how and I don't know why, but it feels like fierce abandoned. All working on a building out of hand-hewn brimstone.
Love it. Love it.
Working on a building and I'm building on it all alone.
So let's not get demonetized, not demonetized, but whatever else. But tell it, what is that song?
Tyler Childers. It's called "I Swear to God."
That is a fantastic.
Dude, it's fucking fantastic.
I love it. I love it. Hey, YouTubers, everybody hanging on.
Woo! We love y'all.
Thank you for being on.
You are the greatest. Thank you so much for tuning in live. You know we love you. And we have a great time doing this stuff, and we appreciate it.
PTM After Dark, After Hours. Beast, thank you, sir. We'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all know what the deal is. It's fun. We love this. See you later.